Well, it's another edition of the ALC Sidelines podcast here with you, Dan Zumpano. Going to talk to a really, really interesting team this year in the Division II level of the ALC in Appalachian State. We've got Jason Stauffer. We've got CJ Impagliazzo coming on, who's the new head coach for the Mountaineers down in Boone. Talk about some of the things going on in terms of hurricane relief from Hurricane Helene that devastated western North Carolina. So we'll have a chance to talk to them about how they've navigated that situation and what's to come in 2025. Just some news and notes really from around the ALC as we look at it. We've seen some scores to some scrimmages lately. Tennessee and Virginia Tech played in a really, really hard-fought scrimmage. The Tennessee came out on top, so it's always really interesting to see those two after a really hard-fought battle last year as well between the Hokies and the Volunteers. And then the Battle of Kentucky was interesting. Kentucky, who has scrimmaged West Virginia this year, they have scrimmaged Louisville, came out on top in that one. So it's going to be interesting to see how Kentucky makes the transition from their league to now the MCLA and how they handle that level of competition. All indications are that this is one of the most well-organized programs in the ALC. We'll see if that transfers to the field come 2025. Very exciting time for the ALC and joining that squad. And then UNCW in their round-robin tournament did really well. So congratulations to them with the fall ball. And again, we try to take it in perspective, right? I mean, the fall doesn't count, obviously, but it's always good to see progress for your team. So even if you're not winning games, you're trying to gauge, all right, where does each player belong? How do we get the best TEAM on the field and giving us the best chance to win? That sets us up for culture building along with on-field play. So it's always fascinating to see how teams operate and organize when it comes to the fall and then transitioning to the spring. News and notes just quickly on some of those appeals that took place at the MCLA level for NCAA transfers. There was one player from the ALC that did win an appeal to grant their eligibility for 2025. That was Liberty defenseman and first-team All-American Connor Giltonen. So Connor will be able to play for the Flames this year, and of course, I'm sure Coach McQuillan is very excited about that, considering his pedigree as a first-team All-American a year ago in his first year in the MCLA after transferring from High Point. So we will see him back on the field for the Flames. That's really all about it for news and notes. So let's get into it with this special Mountaineer interview from Appalachian State University in Boone, North Carolina. All right, back here on the ALC Sidelines podcast, we are pleased to be joined by a couple of representatives from the Appalachian State Mountaineers lacrosse program. Jason Stauffer here with us, and the new head coach of the Mountaineers, CJ Impagliazzo. Azzo, Italian. I love it. Those are my guys right there. It's great to see you guys. How's Boone? How are things going? How was fall?
Man, Boone's wet. That's all.
It's wet. Yeah, we'll
now.
talk about it. Yeah.
And I mean, obviously with this whole storm and everything, Western North Carolina. Even today, I think we got our most rain that we had in forever. But love it up here. It's just the mountain feel.
Yeah, Boone's starting to get back to normal over the last couple of weeks, which has been nice to see, because when that storm first came through, it was pretty depressing around here for a while. But it's back on its feet. Everyone's back in school for App State and Watauga High School, so it's good to see.
Starting to get back to normal.
It's hard to talk about, lacrosse when all those other things are going on, right? I mean, Hurricane Helene coming in, just another report literally today of, the death toll going up again. I think they're up to 102 now, so it's still a few people missing. What has that been like to be in the middle of this giant national disaster, natural disaster, national story, and focus on what you guys need to do? I mean, we've already seen some games canceled. I know that the football game between Liberty and App State was canceled. What has that been like on campus for you guys trying to navigate the fall?
If you're good, because you're on campus usually.
Yeah, I mean it's important to keep things in perspective a little bit. Where I think from our team perspective, we fared pretty well. We have a lot of guys living on campus, and then the people that are off campus are kind of relatively close to campus because they go to school at App State, obviously. And I think the way it kind of played out is the closer you were to App State's campus, the better you were. But if you were further out in Blowing Rock or Chimney Rock or Banner Elk with Lees McRae, where they got absolutely slammed,
Ugh.
that's where a lot of the devastation was and still is. But, obviously it was one of those things. A lot of people didn't realize how bad it was going to be. I know I personally just kind of thought it would just be a snow day, just with rain. It would be a little windy. It would be a little wet for a couple of days. But then me and my friends kind of took a stroll around campus when once school got canceled, and we took a look around and kind of had an aha moment about all the sinkholes and the doors that were pushed open and the brick courtyard that was completely destroyed. I'd never seen water destroy bricks and carry bricks like it did. So that was a very eye-opening moment. And in that second, lacrosse is the furthest thing from your brain. It's just kind of like, how is this town going to get back on its feet and get back to normal?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, so I'm not a student anymore. I live up in Boone now, just full time. And I worked some relief effort with my church, just going out right after the storm. I mean, just whole house, like apartment complexes that were condemned in Boone, going out to like the Newland area, Banner Elk area, and they were just, I mean, just completely devastated. And I mean, just I guess focusing more on the lacrosse side of it. As a team, we're used to just the rain, having cancellation because of rain, and we're usually pretty flexible in that sense. But it's just like we didn't have practice for about a month, just because, kind of like we talked about before, it's no field situations. We were having hard field situations before too. And then those first few practices we were back, we were inside the gym,
Mm.
just playing box lacrosse, trying to figure it out. And I mean, I guess that's kind of the MO of our team, just figure it out and just do the best we can to kind of put our heads down and just get some work in.
Yeah.
But I think the community as a whole has definitely started to come back together more. I mean, you saw Boone almost start to feel normal after like 2 to 3 weeks with all the students coming back. And it's definitely a strong mountain community. One thing that people don't know about the mountain community is we're very self-sufficient. So even if no one's coming to help, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Have you got? Go ahead. Yeah.
One of the things that was just most important in that moment is just to get the team together in any capacity we could. So we just had a couple meetings where our team president Eli just had some like speakers come in about different careers just to get the guys together, just to see faces and make sure everyone's okay. Again, lacrosse is the furthest thing from your mind. We have no idea when we're going to practice again, let alone when we're going to play again. So it's just a matter of let's get the guys together for a couple social events just to see each other and continue to be a team, even though we might not be playing as much as we'd like to.
Have you guys had any interaction in the community as a team or some of the players out in the community volunteering? I know you mentioned you're volunteering with your church. Have you had any action out there in the community to really see it?
Good.
So I mean, we haven't had, I guess, a team volunteering day. We were trying to set one up with the school, but we never heard back from them. Obviously, we had, of course, like Baptist on a Mission, Samaritan's Purse, who's actually located in Boone, come and help out, and they fixed that Boone pretty fast. And obviously, like we were looking for that, but we just didn't find the right opportunity. Guys kind of went on their own, did some volunteering, passing out clothes, passing out food. I think that's one of the cornerstones of our team too. Is we always look to help our community and just individual senses too.
Yeah, I reached out to Lees McRae College in Banner Elk to try and set up kind of a scrimmage early in the spring semester, like in February, maybe even in January, of just kind of coming together and playing a little charity game to announce that, lacrosse is back in the high country and that we're back and ready to go again. And so hopefully we can get that kind of up and rolling because I think that would be a really, really nice event.
That would be great. I mean, again, and of course, anybody that wants to contribute, please reach out. I mean, that would be still a lot of people all around the country praying for you guys and trying to volunteer out there. So that's a great thing. You've mentioned, and we'll get to the lacrosse side of it now. I mean, you've mentioned that this whole thing has kind of thrown a wrench into your plans for the spring, how you guys have practiced in the fall. How has it affected the lacrosse side of things right now? And are you planning on trying to make other things? You have other plans in the works to get things kind of settled so that you can have a normal, quote unquote, lacrosse season?
Yes, I think our main focus right now is just trying to find a field to practice on for the spring. Our original field that we've always practiced on is called State Farm Field. It's a university-owned field. And even before the storm, we were having issues with it flooding. So the storm didn't help it at all. I mean, we were kind of on the far end of the field where it's usually always it's almost like a swamp out there. So now it's just a complete mud fest, the whole field. I think we're getting quotes that we're not going to be able to play on it until like 2025. So right now we're just trying to find fields that we can use. There's a few fields kind of out the other way that we've been reaching out to and paying for. And we have right now in the works, we were trying to see if we can get with one of the local high schools, Watauga High School, and just use their turf field for the time being.
Yeah, because as it stands right now, like CJ said, we don't have a field to practice on or host games. And even before the storm hit, State Farm Field was a pretty, lackluster facility to say the least, right? And we've had people get hurt on it and have some pretty serious injuries because of the field quality. And we've even had schools say that we'd love to come up to Boone to play you guys, but don't want to do it on State Farm Fields because it has that reputation of it's not safe, it's not to regulation. I mean, with last year, when we hosted that playoff game against VT that we won, our field was pretty wonky looking. We had to go out there and paint it ourselves. We had to paint the creases ourselves, so the measurements were all off. We didn't have like any kind of power for the shot clock either. So we lucked out that one of our guys had a generator. But a lot of we were just kind of scrambling in the week before this game. Like we're hosting a playoff game for the first time in our school's history. We can't blow this. And we had to do it all ourselves essentially to make that happen as best as we could. And I think we did a pretty good job, all things considered. But in the spring, we're kind of hoping that isn't the situation again. We'd like to focus more on the game aspect and rather than do we have somewhere to play?
And kind of just to touch on that a little bit more.
Sure.
I mean, we're lucky we just have a great exec board. Just great guys. I mean, we walked out there to see what the field looked like before probably 3 or 4 days before the game, just to make sure it was to specs. And the field was cut off short, dropping into a drainage ditch. And we're like, no, we got to fix this. So we had 4 or 5 guys out there just going to work for 2 to 3 days just to make sure everything was right for the guys. And guys like Jason, Eli Poole, Mike Quick, Jacob DeVita, Jack Jackson, they just really helped out and just made things look great.
It's club lacrosse to a T, right? I mean, it's you do what you do, the long bus rides, the digging of fields to make sure they're level. I mean, that's what they do. Guys, what can we do? I mean, where can people go to help out, to donate to the program, and to kind of relieve some of those issues that you've had, especially considering that it's an even bigger challenge with what's just occurred?
Right now, we actually brought on another team member named Nick, who's pretty computer savvy and good with coding, who's going to start constructing and has started constructing a team website.
Nice.
That we're hoping is going to come out pretty soon, hopefully before the spring. He's doing a wonderful job with that. And that can definitely be a spot where people can kind of check us out, learn more about us. We're also looking to start, especially now that the fall playing season is over, Exec is going to continue to start working, kind of building the program up. And we're looking to reach out to some local companies, whether it be Mass General Store or Anna Bananas or Stick Bread Company or something like that, Stick Boy, to see if we could get some kind of sponsorships from these local businesses, because we want to support them and we'd hope that they'd want to support us. And that would be a great way to just kind of build our program up and foster that collaboration within our community.
It kind of is a fascinating conversation, though, isn't it, about you're hearing all about this money in college sports and the NILs and this and that. And this league, I mean, 99% of the time, the players are on their own, right? And it's dues and this and that and the other. So if you want sponsorships, if you want those kind of deals, I mean, you got to go and push it yourself. So it kind of creates, not just on the lacrosse side, but on the business side, right? And I think, Coach, you've kind of been in the business world yourself a little bit here. On the business side, I mean, this is a great opportunity for you guys to kind of, set the groundwork and the foundation so that teams in the future don't have to deal with it.
Exactly. I mean, that's kind of, I guess, what we've been doing the past 2 years, and we can get into a little bit more a little later on. Just talking about the guys and how we've had it set up. But really, this program has started to just flourish in the past 2 years.
Yeah.
Just again, talking about the exec board, Eli Poole, Mike Quick, they've really laid the groundwork for this team, and I think it's about really getting into the community and getting the community to support us and showing them that, hey, we actually care, we actually matter, we want to be a part of this.
Yeah, we don't want to be like the doormat or the laughing stock of the ALC, which I know that was kind of our reputation in the past, is when, people would see us on the calendar or on the schedule and it would be a gimme game, and it's like you put the little W next to it because it's just App State. We don't want to be that anymore, and I think we won our playoff game last year. It didn't really go our way in the tournament. We ran into a really, really good, well-coached Charlotte team, and they absolutely deserved to win that game. They're a really, really good program. But, in the regular season, we were within one goal of Charlotte.
Yeah.
We played a really, really tight game. We beat VT. We played a good game against Wilmington. I mean, we're definitely trending in the right direction, and I think that's something we're going to want to build on in the spring. And to your point, is that we don't have a lot of funding from the school, or we don't have any fancy facilities that we know a lot of other ALC teams have. We don't have a weight room or even a turf field. We don't have a field. So the product you see on the field in the spring is just grassroots, just guys doing it because they like doing it and they love doing it and they love the team. They love App State and they just want to play the sport they love, and they're not getting any reward out of it other than just playing the game.
It may be the most guys being dudes program in the ALC. That's what I'm hearing. It's incredible. But you mentioned last year. We could talk about last year and kind of what's rolling into this year. You guys go to the tournament. You have your first winning season since 2017. I mean, we're talking about up and coming. Like, this is it. And remember, you guys had played in, 2022 tournament, kind of as a last minute filler thing, and got beat 26-1 or something crazy. And to the same team, you come back 2 years later, you almost beat them in the regular season. You definitely play a much more respectable game in the ALC tournament in Lynchburg. What are you guys feeling into 2025, especially knowing now new coach at the helm? I mean, Jason, you've been there through this. So what does Coach CJ here bring to the table that's different,
He's had the mantra he's had all fall, and since he's gotten here, is that it's just a player-led team. And I think that's something that's really important, is that he's very down to earth. He's on our level. He's not bossy at all. He's down to earth, and that's good. And I think a lot of the guys respect that and receive that well. But I mean, last year we made the playoff. We had a really good squad last year, but this year we had a fantastic freshman class come in that are a bunch of really scrappy guys that are excited to get after it. And we're pretty bummed, and I don't blame them, that the fall kind of played out the way it did because they didn't really get an opportunity to go out there and prove themselves. But in the spring, they're itching to go. And I'm really excited to see what this freshman class can do. And not to mention the transfers we've had. We've had some great transfers come in. So this team is definitely, on the up, as they say. And I'm really excited to see what we can do in the spring.
Coach, I want to talk to you. You come here, you're an App State grad. You played at Lenore Rhine for a year, right, as a goalie. Okay, so there you go. So between the pipes, toughest job in the game. What led you here? Why are you here? And what was your experience like at LRU? And now you transition to App State. Like, what's your lacrosse story, I guess, is my question.
So I mean, obviously, kind of touching my lacrosse story. I'm from Hickory, so where Lenore Rhine is, and that's probably about an hour down the mountain from App State. I grew up watching LR, grew up watching Coach P down there. I just enjoyed it, and actually Coach P was my first ever coach. He's the one that started the program in Hickory. And it kind of just grew from there. Went through high school, and obviously Hickory's not I guess, like a hotbed for lacrosse like Raleigh is or Charlotte is. So we're kind of, I guess, we were one of those middle of the line teams. And I ended up going to LR, spending the time there. And I mean, man, that was just a winning program. I mean, the mindset that Coach P gives, the mindset that Coach Cromp and Case give, I mean, all credits to the world. That is a high level coaching staff. I think you put them in the D1 level and they would compete with every single person up there. I mean, they just push you. And again, it's one of the, kind of like Jason said, it's one of those down to earth coaches who just really wants to get to know the players, really get to just create that winning mindset. I mean, the staff there was great, weight room, training staff, coaching staff, and just the guys there. I think that definitely one thing I really missed, just the camaraderie with that team was it was just different. And I spent what it was 2021 right after COVID. That was the year I spent on the team. The year we went up to Hartford, Connecticut, and lost against Lemoyne in the national championship game. And that fueled that team. That team, we lost once to wing it, and after that, it was just there was no stopping us until we got to that national championship game. I mean, we were just dedicated. It was guys coming in, and of course, COVID time. So it was almost like all we did was play lacrosse. Like we had school online, but no one was not to say school's not important, but no one was focused on school during that playoff time after we lost to Wingate. And then after that, I ended up just deciding that wasn't for me. NCAA lacrosse just it almost became more of a job than anything else, and I wanted to have fun again and just enjoy the college experience. So I decided to come up to App, played a semester of travel lacrosse. Again, decided I might want to be a student for a little bit. All I've done is play sports all my life. And then last year, I ended up talking to one of the guys just randomly one night, and it was kind of cool just to see how it kind of came back to fruition. Where I was put in that position where he was like, "Hey, you want to be the coach?" I was like, yeah, I'll come out. I'll come out. I'll be the defensive coach." So that was kind of my role last year was the defensive coordinator, and then of course stepping up to the head coaching role this year. So it's just been a cool experience just kind of see how it's kind of played out.
Yeah, it's amazing how that kind of rolls that way. You're almost at the top of national championships and part of that era, but it speaks to the team is where they want to go, right? And you have that championship pedigree. It's fascinating to see, just doing the research behind it and hearing you talk about it. Real quick, because we're running out of time here, some players that we want to talk about. Obviously, Michael Quick is back. Charlie Cox is back. Huge for the offense. Felt like kind of an offensive unit that was really good, the attack line. We know those players are really good. Give me some players that we don't know yet that you're going to be like, we knew this in the fall.
To touch on this real fast too, just because I feel like we got snubbed last year in the all conference voting. I feel like we had guys in that team last year who deserve their spots. I mean, you got Robbie Crocker, Gabe Ellsworth. You got Moose, Zach Herman, Dylan Reed, just a bunch of like defensive guys that just didn't get the credit in my opinion. Offensive guys too. You got Davis Fetterman, who's just a great midfielder coming out of the box and just really opens up the field. I mean, looking at this year, we have it's exciting. We have guys who I'm excited to see play on the field for the first time in an actual spring game. Our tack line only got stronger. Our defense only got stronger. Face-off got stronger too. We got a few Belmont Abbey transfers. Cole King, who's actually Mason King's brother, who's one of our, again, middies that got snubbed last year, in my opinion. But Graham, I mean, we just have guys that I think are going to come out this year, and we're going to shock the ALC.
Okay, you heard it here. November 2024, App State shocks the ALC. I love it. This is the stuff we're looking for on the podcast. I love it. It's awesome to see just people wearing their heart on their sleeve. You guys did that when we got to see you last year, leaving it all out in the field. Let's talk about 2025 real quick and talk about some of the games that you guys are looking forward to. You mentioned you got a couple of out-of-conference games. Home schedule is pretty much set, from what I understand. What does the schedule look like in 25 for the Mountaineers?
So we're starting off the season actually with kind of a interleague scrimmage kind of with Western Carolina because I've got a buddy over there, and we were going to do a kind of Battle of the Blue Ridge type situation just to kind of start the season off with a fun note. And then we have UNCW coming up to Boone to play, which is a big, big division game. We just played them in a scrimmage last weekend and at their place, so we're excited for them to come to Boone, bearing we get the field situation sorted out. And then we're going down to Wake Forest, which is always a good time. They're a fantastic team, probably our biggest competition in this side of the division or this side of the conference. They're a really good team, and it's always a dogfight when we go down to Wake Forest. And then we've got Virginia Tech D2 coming to us, Elon coming to us. Those are our other conference games. And then we were looking out of conference to go down to play Georgia Southern in Statesboro, I believe is what it's called. Statesboro. And they said we'd even play in their football stadium, which is really exciting.
Wow, that'd be
Because,
great.
we don't really get that opportunity really anywhere. So it's a long drive, but I think it'll be worth it. And then we have a trip out to the coast to go play William and Mary, who is another conference opponent. And hopefully we'll get another out-of-conference opponent from Connecticut coming down to play us as well. So we have a lot of fun things to look forward to, and I think when we're looking at the schedule, there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic. We were really close last year, and I think we made a statement last year, kind of planting the flag, saying we're actually a team now, and really one of the things we just wanted to accomplish is just respect. Like, we're not going to win every game, but like I was saying before, is we don't want to be the laughing stock of the ALC, or the doormat. People expect to beat us. Oh, it's just a vacation to Boone. At the culture we're trying to develop here is, even if we're losing, even if we're down, we're still gonna scrap, essentially. Like, we're gonna claw and fight until the clock is dead, right? That's just the way we're wired. That's just the way CJ preaches, and that's what makes it more fun, right? There's no point in throwing in the towel. You get to play this sport for a limited amount of time. You might as well play it with your full heart, and that's what we're gonna do every single opportunity we get.
Yeah, I mean, even watching the guys last year, I mean, that was just kind of our MO, is just we're gonna be that nitty-gritty team. I mean, even if we get knocked down, even if we're down a few goals. I mean, you saw it during the Charlotte game last year, that first Charlotte game. We were down by 6 goals. One of our faceoff guys, Nick, went on a run, won like 6 faceoffs in a row, 6 goals in the back of the net, and then overtime just didn't turn out. Obviously, Colson Huffman, another LR transfer coming into UNC Charlotte. Me and him definitely talked a little bit after that one. I was a little disappointed, but honestly, I wouldn't want it to be anyone else, to be honest with you. Glad the LR guys are competing elsewhere. But yeah, looking into 2025, we're gonna make a statement this year. We're gonna come out. We're gonna earn some respect. We're not gonna demand it. We're gonna earn it. I mean, we're gonna come out there, fight every game, and we're gonna go into every game expecting to win, because in previous years we haven't. We've expected to. We've gone to some games just expecting to lose, and we do lose. So we're just gonna try to compete for that spot in the ALC tournament this year, and hopefully find a spot in that Texas tournament this year.
Expectations very high in Boone, North Carolina this year coming into 2025. Gentlemen, we appreciate it so much. Good luck in 25, and hopefully we'll see you in Lynchburg in the tournament in a few months. It'd be great.
Yes, sir. We'll see y'all then. Hopefully we'll talk more in the spring.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Our thanks to Jason Stauffer and Coach Impagliazzo for joining us today. Good luck to the Mountaineers in 2025. You can check them out on Instagram at App State Lacrosse. And you can check us out on Instagram as well at Atlantic Lacrosse Conference. We're also on X at Atlantic LC, and then the ALC Sports Network on YouTube for every episode of the ALC Sidelines podcast. That's going to do it for this week. Join us in a few weeks when we talk to some more teams from around the league and get you set and ready for lacrosse in 2025 in the ALC. I'm Dan Zumpano. Thank you for listening to the ALC Sidelines podcast.